Okay, so now we're recording. Let me do. Okay, tones are off. I won't mute yet. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, yeah, this Leo new moon solar eclipse, is just it's chaotic. It's kind of it is a new moon, so it is creating circumstances for new beginnings, while at the same time, I was explaining to you guys a little earlier. Every and I've always said this, everything is a death and rebirth process every nanosecond, really, in truth. We just don't always think about it. We don't observe it. We don't understand it. But this is like, because it's an eclipse, it is a big deal. And because the South Node just entered Leo 2 weeks ago at the 29th anaretic degree, anaretic degrees usually are endings, transformational, huge shifts. South Node has to do with the past. It has to do with how we see ourselves, how we, the patterning, habituation processes. It can be old relationships. Anything that is, from previous till now has to do with South Node. North Node, of course, is where we're going, what we're doing, how we're creating. It's the new individual and collective creations, and that is in Aquarius and people, in just the community at large, cosmic awareness of people, or consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Depends on how wide, you want to, let your definition go. And so it's also at the 29th degree of Aquarius. So anything at 29th degree kind of is, it's in crisis mode. It's releases. It's chaotic energy. So that can be chaos in the outer world of, all humanity, for that matter. And the fact that you've got those nodes changing, and it stays at a degree for, during the eclipses, it stays an extra long time because of the way that the Earth and the Moon play out. The Moon path during an eclipse it doesn't move as fast. It just stays and it sits. It takes a while to move off that degree. So we're going to be working with this energy for weeks, or a couple weeks at least. I'm trying to remember. Actually, let me go pull my astrologer's chart of the sky, and I'll tell you how long it is. I'm so glad I made this thing. So, come back here.
Jonathan, while you're looking that up, I want to make just one more comment. In
Sure.
all of the meditations that I have been doing and regarding chaos, I keep getting the message just to simply keep going forward, that there's nothing to do, just continue going forward. I get it over and over and over again in different ways. So I just thought I'd throw that out too.
Well, and that is correct. From the standpoint that, we're really throwing out anything that doesn't fit our vibrational frequencies anymore. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay, so the nodes, they moved in on the 26th. Let me mute the computer. The 26th of July. So it's been over 2 weeks now that the nodes have been in that. So we've been processing these new beginnings and releases, the nodes. And again, the nodes represent the emotional expression. Again, individually and collectively. So we're going to be doing this by ourselves, each one of us on the planet, 8 billion people, whatever. But we're also doing it in huge, like as nations. We're doing it, and that can be representative of leaders of nations. And, with eclipses, they always talk about leaders falling away. Like today, I think I heard something about, they put Trump on another plane with one of his security people or whatever else and left everybody else on the decoy. Okay, imagine if someone were to blow that plane up with everybody else on it. That'd be kind of rude. But I mean, whether or not those are credible, whether or not it's show, I mean, who knows? But I mean, there's definitely been astrologers that talk about, this is a very critical time for leaders across the world because people get eclipsed out. The fact the nodes are on that 29th anniversary degree of Aquarius. Aquarius is the people. People can be the whole world. People can be a nation, can be whatever else. So depending on how these things are hitting in a chart, a nation, a city, or even in individuals, I don't know where they're hitting Trump's stuff or any of them, Putin. I mean, I've heard people say that this is going to be a very precarious time for many leaders because it can, like this new moon could create a new beginning because of an ending, you see. And that's why this particular eclipse is extra potent, especially for the releases because of the nodes being at 29 degrees. And, okay, so the question for that, so the nodes are going to be at 29 degrees all the way through, it looks like around October the 3rd. So I mean, we're talking about all of September and the rest of, so 6 weeks of, is how long before, the nodes get into the 28th degree, which are mastery degrees. So, but we have to go through releasing energies before the new beginnings can come. Well, actually, I won't even say before. You can have the new beginnings from the endings. Like, say, for instance, and this was a lead-up energy. I mean, I'm a perfect example. I mean, my father passed away shockingly, was not expected. With that ending, and I'm having a Saturn return. Saturn represents the father. It was approaching my natal Saturn within 3 degrees before it went retrograde. So, I mean, from that standpoint, any main astrologer would say, oh, yep, that's the father. And so nodes are releasing, eclipses, are shifting. But in that ending, it's creating an entire new beginning for me because I'm not stuck in what was my very restricted reality at that time. I mean, my life is totally opened up now. I still have a couple, the 2 great aunts I take care of too, but the dynamic has definitely changed because I've been released of one, and I've said this too. I mean, my dad and I both received the grace of him not having to live through dementia and Alzheimer's, and I didn't have to live with it and make decisions. I mean, I can't explain to you just the relief because I've been dealing with so many people that are in that the thick of that, and so that's a perfect example of how these eclipses are working. They're releasing something that doesn't work. They're releasing soul contracts. That it's time to release. That may be friendships. It may be. It could be your kids. I mean, it could be parents, grandparents. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. But if anything is not serving your highest potentiality, it's like the universe is just potentially going to shift it for you. At the same time, we're also in a place where we're making conscious choices. So if the energy is not working for you dynamically with somebody else, and part of this was the retrograde Juno going over Pluto, and I told you that happened, at the end of July, and so Pluto has, Pluto's still riding that 4th degree with all the Barbault's basket. I mean, it's got all those big planets, Uranus at 4 degrees of Gemini, Pluto's at 4 degrees of Aquarius, Neptune is 4 degrees of Aries, and what else was there? Jupiter came across at first and activated, but I mean, you get all of these activations that are happening at that 4 degrees, and those are early degrees within the signs, so they also represent, I think, new beginnings and shiftings and doing everything. But that moon that opened this eclipse cycle, the full moon on the 26th of July, was right there next to Pluto Juno, and you remember I told you it really. That moon was for releasing a lot of, or reevaluating all partnerships. Juno is marriage and partnerships on Pluto. Pluto is death and rebirth. Both are retrograde. It means we're totally re-examining every single thing about our lives and how it works as far as relationship. And it's also in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius, again, the we the people. So we're looking at partnerships with authority. We're looking at, how our leaders either lead us or they're not leading us. We're rehashing all of that. Now, the interesting part of the way that works, Juno's gone back in Capricorn during this eclipse window, and it's going to go direct on the 17th of September. It will re-enter on October the 23rd. It comes back into Aquarius. At that point, it reapproaches Pluto. Oh, no, the other thing, Pluto is going to go direct on the 16th of October. So both of those planets that have had us in the retrograde journey in the middle of October have us going forwards. And Juno is going to be meeting up with Pluto again on November the 3rd is exact. But it's going to be in an approach. So by the end of October, beginning into November, there's going to be a forward energy movement with regards to marriage, relationships, whatever else. And to not be left out, I don't remember exactly what day election day technically is, if it's the 3rd, 5th, whatever it is, but that's right around the same time Juno meets up with Pluto again. So I have a feeling that the election cycle is going to be completely, God knows what it's going to look like, because even though Pluto has moved back to 2 degrees, it is still sextiling all of those. It's doing Uranus. It's going to be doing, Uranus, Neptune. All of that. So Uranus is shocking. Neptune is the dream reality. Saturn, even though it's moved forwards, actually let me go over to Aries and see exactly where Saturn is. Saturn is still retrograding at that point in November, and it's made it back to 9 degrees. So it's not really playing in that, but Saturn is structure. It's still, we're reviewing the structures of our I am presence. And Saturn will keep going backwards all the way until the 10th of December, and it goes direct at 7 degrees. So, that gives the structure to our I am presence, how we see ourselves and present ourselves in the world. But, that's retrograde all the way through the end, almost the end of the year. So, we're really, from now all the way until, the end of December, we're really looking over how all of our structures in our lives work, especially the I am presence, though. Saturn, because it does run through that structure, and I've talked about this before, how deeply do you want to go into your own awareness? Saturn can represent cellular structure, can't it? It's any kind of structure. Whatever value you want to project onto whatever it is you're doing, the level of work, Saturn can represent that. But on the macro level, Saturn represents the Father. It represents time. It represents, all of those things. And we are changing our relationship to all of it. And that's why this is such a huge time and shift in our perception of reality, the way we engage with that reality, the people, all of that. Now, what's going to be interesting, I'm just sitting here noticing, Juno, by the time it goes back over Pluto, will meet up with the North Node on Christmas Day. So that, again, partnering, North Node is future. So I see that last couple of weeks, all this work we've been doing is going to create a lot of new partnerships going into the new year, by the end of this year, because Juno is meeting up with the North Node. And that happens at the 20th, 21st degree of Aquarius, which is in opposition to the point we are now. Because the opposition, this moon is actually at 20 of Leo, this eclipse. And if you go up to where the eclipse is now. I'm just now seeing this. I wouldn't have seen this if I hadn't been going through it with you guys. It's so funny. The opposition point to this eclipse right now is at 20 Aquarius. That is where, I see just that fast, the thought went out of my brain. Let me get back down here. Oh, that's where Juno meets up with the North Node. The North Node backs up to that point. So this eclipse is tied directly to the way of what we bring into the future and how we partner with it. But it's partnering with everything. Because Juno and the North Node are in Aquarius, though, it mainly has to do with we the people. So we're really in a crucible for the next 5 months to get to those new beginnings of partnership. And this node, or this particular moon solar eclipse, is a direct correlation to what's happening there, because those new creations are going to be exactly on this point. The opposition to this moon. And so, people that don't think astrology works, it's like, well, you might want to go relook at that. So, let me see. What else was I going to cover with that? That's one thing that's so powerful about this chart. I mean, I can jump all over the sky at any point and pull up, what is going what and doing where. I actually just ordered a third camera to do this video presentation. So now I'm going to have 3 camera views. One is going to be pointing to the screen so that when I'm pointing out things, it'll be like an observer chair from behind me coming toward the video screen. So I've been really trying to set up the way of a presentation for this. I think it's going to work really well. So I've already been playing with that. And again, so this is my new creation of how I'm using this energy. So the other part to this is, let me see, I'm trying to remember what a couple of y'all mentioned earlier in the call. What was I was going to reference back to something one of y'all had said. I guess it was just, regarding back to the beginnings and endings of things, partly the chaos. And so I wish I had tracked where chaos is, the actual asteroid. I bet it's sitting right in the middle of one of these things. We always get movement because of chaos. When there's things that happen either in our lives or other people's lives, chaos creates the movement. Chaos creates disintegration. Chaos creates a complete change of perspective, doesn't it? As we go through, life, and when we're sitting here, we get up, we wake up, you eat, you shower, do whatever else, go about your day, and then something out of the blue comes in, like Bob, you've been talking about. It's like, and you're just like, oh my God, why? What is this? And then, you're in your heart, so you're in response to something that comes up in life, and of course that usually has to do with somebody else. It can do with you, but so many times we're in constant reaction and response to everybody else. One thing I'm having to do right now is reevaluate what I'm going to respond to. What is my relationship to every single person, place, or thing on this planet? The other thing, now that we had all the Cancer, Mercury Cancer retrograde and all these things that happened in Cancer, it had me reevaluating house and home. And now I find myself, I thought I was going to sell my dad's house. I actually think I may move into my dad's house and see if I prefer living over there, and selling this home to release all of the past, with my mom and memories over here, and just the energy that got made up here at this particular home. I mean, Mom was here for, between her and me, we've been here 15 years. I mean, she's been gone almost 5 of those. But there's something, though, when I sit in it and I ask myself, okay, does it make sense to upend myself that way because I don't know where I'm going? And yet, somewhere within me, in my core, it says, release every single thing you're doing, because where we're going in the future, you're not going to have a frame of reference for anything you're going to have in your past. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty powerful. I mean, some of you will remember so many times when Judith would say something like that, Spirit would just move her and say, oh, go to Colorado, go here, go here. She'd find herself picking up and traveling and moving just at the drop of a hat. I mean, for no reason, seemingly, out of nowhere, Spirit would say, go do this. And she wouldn't question it. She'd just go do it. And I feel like that I'm kind of being moved to do that. There's something about, moving into Dad's house. I mean, it's practicality. It's a better built home than this one. I can do things over there more inexpensively than I need to do here. I need to just release this and let someone else, create a new energy with it. Sometimes there's also the portals of the energy that's on the land where you're living. And it may have been a vibrational frequency match for you at that particular point. And you've worked with the energy on that land. This is a huge theme right now for everyone around the world, individually, collectively, especially groups, nations. Think about the people that are born into any other country, especially Israel, Palestine, Iran, all these places that are hot zones. I mean, just hot, hot, hot. By no fault of their own, those people are there to work through those energy fields. They're having to live. I mean, they're living a vital life force, trying to, wake up every day and just go to work and try and have some sense of, there is no normal in those countries. And if you go through astrocartography and you look at where the planets are over, where they're crossing the planet, those are hot spots, especially in like the birth charts of those countries or cities, sometimes the leaders. There'll be things that activate, and all those things are activated right now, especially in these, quote, holy lands. And everyone is totally in this righteous fight for what's right and what you're going to defend and how you're going to see the future. How do you create the future? Who's right and who's wrong? Who's evil and good? I mean, that is a huge theme playing out in every single country right now. Wildfires are all over. I mean, they're just like burning up everything everywhere. Now, I've got a whole other thing on that. I'm not going to go into what I think is happening. I will say this. There are some very dark creatures to walk this planet. They're in some very high places of power, and they control a lot of technological weapons. There's bigger pictures and dynamics of things that are happening. Part of it is to destabilize countries. It's to destabilize larger groups of humanity that are in separation because of the countries we live in, the places we live. Part of it, though, is to really activate these core deep layers of group DNA, especially within countries. And it creates high fear. It creates the most destructive chaos. I mean, if you think of that, I'll imagine like the fires that were in California. And if you go into bigger picture things, I'm not going to get into some of it on here, but I mean, like these smart meters. Just go and Google smart meters and problems that people have had with smart meters and fires that are creating their homes. And if you were to be able to research, fire patterns, how fire works, how fire moves, you would find that so many of these fires, Lahaina in Hawaii, I mean, these were not man-made created. Or I'm sorry, they were man-made created. They were not just, done for no reason. If you follow the money, you'll always find the reason why these things happen. The other things happening, all these earthquakes. If you look at the countries the earthquakes are happening in, Colombia, I think Venezuela had one or two. I mean, but they're all over. The Ring of Fire is just, it's all activated. Japan, I think the Philippines, wherever it is, it doesn't matter. The point is there's chaos and destruction that's being created on global scales, but it's happening in a lot, especially the third world countries, countries that are not as developed as we are. And again, the chaos breaks apart anything in stagnation. And I'm not going to fight for anything or anybody or defend this or that. But from that chaos, we create a necessary void, which is, it's an absence of creation. Let's just call it that. Like when Jude always, would talk to clients, and I'm sure if you've had, a session with Jude, at some point she's probably told you, "Oh, you're in a void." She would call me sometimes, "Jonathan, you're in a void." And I'm like, "Okay." And I've known other people that and a lot of people would live in a void because it's like you wake up every day, but there's no movement. There's no core creation happening. There's no heartfelt impetus from, the core of who you are as God presence. It's like we fall into, we just live through the habituation. If you're only living in habituation, then you're in reaction to everything else in the world of form. And so that is the deeper parts. I didn't expect to be going into all this. Again, I just go where Spirit takes me. It's God. This is the bigger picture dynamic of what these eclipses are breaking apart. This is nothing new. I could articulate this every single day, and that is an eternal truth. That's something that we're always doing and going through. But it's all heightened right now because of the solar flares, because of the plasma energies that are being ejected from the sun. You've got the great central sun, so on and so forth. All of those things are cosmic events. And the other part to this too, when I was looking at the chart, is because of where the nodes are. Actually, let me go ahead and mute. No. Okay, there it goes. Yeah, just a little bit of noise, but this is quieter. So the nodes being at 29 degrees of Leo and Aquarius are, let me see, Leo, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the node, the south node's in Leo. It is trining the galactic center. So the galactic center is basically the center of the Milky Way. It's what our universe revolves around. It is sextiling the north node in Aquarius. So the galactic center is working positively to assist us with cosmic energy, creating the new beginnings and the endings. Because Leo is the south node with endings, those endings are more in and around Leo. And you have cosmic endings, and then Aquarius is the other. Now, let me see. Actually, let me go over to the north node in Aquarius, because I want to see. So what we're going to have, as the nodes are in the 29 degrees, they're going to approach. Galactic center's at 27. And as we go down through here, the nodes will not be exactly trining or sextiling the galactic center until around October the 20th. So that's literally 2 months that we're going to be approaching the galactic center in positive energies with regards to where we're going individually and collectively, and also what we're releasing individually and collectively. Those nodes at that point have moved away from the eclipse point, so that they're moving faster. And it will slowly move away. Let me see. The nodes by the 11th of November have moved to 3 degrees away from there. And then by December the 8th, they're really starting to pull away. So, again, all the way through the rest of this year, the nodes are going to be positively aspecting cosmic awareness in the galactic center. That's a really, really, really good thing. So, Joyce, that's one of the things you were mentioning when you were listening to Pam Gregory and Ron Cord and some of these others. I don't know. I haven't listened to them yet, so I don't know what got articulated. But when I look at the sky and when I look at these movements, that's a huge thing that I see. And again, I mean, the nodes are destiny, so individual and collective destinies. But between now and then, those nodes are going to be exactly within 2 or 3 degrees contacting the galactic center. So that tells me we're getting galactic downloads of awareness in the endings and creations. So that's a really, really good thing to have. Let me see. And of course, that was December, or at the beginning of December. By the end of December, again, remember I told you Juno will meet up with the North Node, really creating wonderful partnerships. And that's going to be in Aquarius, the sign of we the people, all these things. And that actually happens, like I said, at the 20th degree where this opposition point is to this moon, which happens to be on my descendant at 19, exactly. And of course, that'll be opposite my ascendant. So that will be affecting me at a personal level, how I approach relationships on the individual level, but also how I'm ascending out into the world. That's basically your ascendant, descendant. And the interesting thing about the 23rd, too, Pluto will be back at 4 degrees yet again. So it will have made up the last, 4 or 5 months of its journey in retrograde territory back to this 4 degrees, still working with Uranus, Neptune, anything else that comes up against that. The other thing that's going to be interesting about that on December 23rd, the Sun will create it will create a full moon in Cancer, opposition to Capricorn, but that's all at the 23rd degree, and it's going to be approaching the oscillating Lilith, which is really going to bring in cosmic consciousness, and Mercury comes in right behind all of that with the Sun, and the Sun is going to basically meet up. Mercury will meet the Sun like on the 23rd, like the end of the year. And so there'll be a lot of communication, and the Sun represents outward expression of who we are. The Tesla asteroid is right in the middle of Mercury-Sun on the 30th and 31st. And Clotho of Fate is right there. I mean, it's crazy. The other thing I just noticed over here in Sagittarius, the John asteroid crosses the Jung asteroid on the 23rd also. So I could project all sorts of values onto that. It's also on Rasalhawa, which is the head of the head of the serpent in Ophiuchus, the star system. And then both of those will enter the Lilith vortex. So I could go into all sorts of value projections on what that would look like. But let me come back over here. And Venus is on the Scorpio world point that day. I'm not going to hang out too much in the older part. Nothing really in the South Node in Leo at that point. But I mean, the action right now is between Leo and Aquarius, with these eclipses. Let me move back up to the eclipses here. But the reason I went through all of that was to explain, kind of, to your point, Joyce, hearing about new wonderful energies coming in. It really is the nodes that are going to meet up, and aspect the galactic center in a very positive way. That's what they are for me. So, yeah. Let's see. All right, so going back up to this particular eclipse, though. I may have mentioned some of this in the previous call, but I think a lot of this is newer. The Narcissus Centaur is in Scorpio, and it's only 3 degrees away from the square to this new moon solar eclipse in Leo. So squares are working energies. They can be challenges. They can be all sorts of things. If you look out in the world, there's a lot of narcissistic individuals that are being challenged. That's only 3 degrees away from the square. And again, it's in Scorpio. Scorpio is a lot of lies, deceit, lower sexual expressions. So if you have people that are in narcissistic world acting those things out, they might have some challenging times going on for them. The other part to that, as I've mentioned before, you've got Narcissus, but you also have, where's it at? Oh, that's right. So Narcissus is in Scorpio. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's trining Nessus, which is abuse patterns. And so that's with the quincunx to this new moon. Quincunxes offer faded point of God places, and because it's Pisces, so the actual point to that is going to be in Verb. Is that right? Oh no. The quincunx, it's in Leo to Pisces, The other way, that's right. Yeah. So Pisces, Capricorn is the other quincunx. So anyone that's got something at 20 degrees of Capricorn and Pisces are being quincunxing to this particular moon. And the oscillating wheel of path is very close to that quincunx. It's not exact, but it's there. So I think that's creating shifts in it's getting energy infused from oscillating wheel, which to me is divine feminine, which is sextiling Nessus, and that's a workable energy. So I feel like that we're still having, and Nessus is retrograde, so we're reviewing abuse patterns, but in positive ways. And so I think that's a dynamic that's happening with the moon from that standpoint. I always try to look at those because, so much of the world is set up in an abuse pattern. There's so many parts of our world, whether it's either abuse with children through sexual exploitation, abuse with human trafficking, and that's trafficking of all humans. It just doesn't happen to kids. But there's abuses of any kind of authority that can represent corporate abuse. It can represent governmental abuse. It doesn't matter. And wherever it falls in the charts of certain governments and businesses, again, all those things have charts. Those things are all going to be affected. And so I think this can lead to positive change. But again, yods, which are fingers of God that are pointing to the moon, since this moon's an eclipse, it's huge, it's powerful. And the middle point of the sextile is in opposition to the moon. So I think anything in between in that sextile kind of gets squeezed energetically. And Juno retrograde, Pluto retrograde, Cherokee retrograde, the North Node, which is retrograding, Gong retrograding, Australia, are all in between that sextile point. And I think all those energies are working in some sort of dynamic. So again, there's so much happening with all that. So to your point, Bob, that's what creates the chaos. There's so much movement and so many activations, as well as the Barbault's basket, which are all the outer planets that are sextiling or trine to each other. Again, all flowing energies. Now, some of those things are going to be activated with other, aspects from other personal planets and things. I don't have a list of that, but all of those things, give the depth of additional change that are happening. So, let me see, what else was there that I wanted to go into? I think I may have mentioned this in the last call, but Venus just crossed over the supergalactic center. So that was just 3 days ago in Libra. And what's really interesting about this, I'm just sitting here noticing, Venus is crossing. This is kind of how it's working for me individually with what I'm doing. It's going across the composite natal and progressed karma in the composite chart between me and the AstroDance computer. Venus is what we love, how you value, how you work with it. The Gregory asteroid and the John asteroid just cross each other, and my name and Gregory's are on the AstroDance natal sun. So the expression of the AstroDance computer in Zurich, Switzerland is right there. The composite natal and progressed Pluto are sitting on top of the sun. So it's no mistake of the timing that's coming up for me to be doing what I'm doing. Venus is also approaching my progressed ascendant, which is how I present myself out into the world. And that's being activated with this eclipse window. So it's perfect. It's so fun. How long have I been talking about doing this? And yet here I am. Now I'm pre-making the videos. I'm doing all of the pre-work, testing this. How does this work? Nope, can't do that. So that I can get one clean, clear presentation when I get this video together and present it out. So again, that just gives you, I think, a good idea on how, the astrology, I can speak to it, how it's affecting me on a personal level. Now, we'll see how all of that activates. So, again, the way these eclipses work, the moon, the previous moon that we had, which was in, where were you? Oh, it was a full moon in Aquarius on July the 9th. That opened the eclipse window. It's a 6-week time period, so if you have something in your life that happened on the 29th, it opened these big shifting and chaotic patterns. At the same time, the nodes also shifted. So then we go and we have this new moon solar eclipse in Leo. We will then have the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces on the 27th. That opposition point where the sun creates it is at 5 Virgo, because the sun keeps moving in that forward motion. So, and Mercury will meet up with the sun at that lunar eclipse. So, with communication sitting on the sun's expression in opposition to that moon, so the eclipse is happening, with all of that. And so there's going to be, like Mercury, that's communication, could be eclipsed. The sun expression could be eclipsed. There's a lot happening with that. So if you have anything at the early degrees of Virgo, or something that's aspecting it, and the sun and Mercury will have just crossed the south node to get to Virgo to be, aspecting that opposition just, 2 or 3 days earlier. So that's why all of these energies are tied together. But once we get past that second eclipse in 2 weeks, we will then have a new moon on September the 10th. Is that right? Yes. And it's going to be at 18 degrees of Virgo. And there's not really a lot right there. Jupiter is at 10 degrees. It'll be semi-sextiling it within 2 or 3 degrees. So, Jupiter will be kind of blowing up that new moon. But that new moon really will be the closing of the eclipse window, which, the 6 weeks, that everything's really active. But I think that's when we really start the new beginnings in earnest on September the 10th, because we'll be past everything happening with the eclipses. That also just happens to be on my progressed and natal Pluto and my progressed Pallas Athena in Virgo. So Pluto, death and rebirth. I mean, the sun, closing it out on my Pluto, you can't make this stuff up. It's just hilarious. And then it's also going to go after that. Within a week, it'll be up to my Uranus. So I really think that September is going to blow things open for me, in the world of form. And we'll see how that all plays out. So, again, I am not a professional astrologer. Let's see, what else was there? Let's see. Shall I try there? I think that was all the big things that I wanted to kind of hit on. Again, we also have cosmic stuff going on with the Great Attractor at 14 of Sagittarius. And when you, let me see, where are my trines? Okay, here we go. Another thing that's really powerful about this is the fact that Great Attractor is at 14 Sagittarius. It is in an exact trine to retrograde Saturn. So we're trying to get our structures, Selassie retrogrades next to it, but we're getting a really positive energy from the Great Attractor. So it's more cosmic energy, and Jupiter, Psyche, and Hygeia are all coming up to meet that point around the 19th, which is the midpoint to these eclipses. And Jupiter will come up and meet that point right around that next eclipse in 2 weeks. And the fact that we've got the Sun, Mercury, Psyche, Hygeia, Jupiter all lined up in Varuna right here in Leo is really kind of activating everything. The other thing that's interesting, Mercury, this Sun is actually on my ascendant. Mercury meets it in the middle of the eclipse window next week on the 19th. So I may let that be the day that I try to shoot for to present, launch this video. Part of it's going to be if I can talk to my cousin in Michigan with regards to how to deal with, how to work with this like on a bigger picture scale between me and a corporation, and legal potentials, or how to keep things clean, and there's a lot to this. It's kind of like a big wild card, and I don't know how to navigate some of that. And the Sun and Mercury is going to come across my natal Jupiter and everything else ending into Leo. So, that blows everything up even bigger. That's why I think this could be a big deal with what I'm doing. So, yeah. So I hope that helps, helps you understand a little bit, of the bigger dynamics. And again, that's just the astrology. So when you go beyond the astrology, take it back to just how things are presented, like with Judith over the years, and the stuff I've talked about too. We've got the macro lens, and we look at everything out there in the macro. But then we've also got the micro. And the micro goes all the way down to the most minuscule nano particulation. It goes even beyond that, just pure essence. And we don't really really think about or articulate what is pure essence. We don't, our essence individually, and how that works in the field. And I think we're being invited to work with that on a much deeper level, the very core of self-awareness, if you will. And I mean, if you're on this call, we've already been doing self-awareness quite a bit. And I do think this is going to take us into the next level of that. And part of that is that Juno-Pluto. Juno is partnering, but who are we as a partner, like partnering energy with presence? And most people don't articulate that. I mean, I'm taking it really all the way to our core. And I mean, most astrologers that will talk about these kinds of things only look at it from the standpoint of the traditional interpretations of people interacting with people, things that happen to us, all these kinds of things. I'm talking about going in and deep diving to a place where you sit with your essence. You sit with any of the distortions of creation. You sit with the parts of yourself that are still not owned, the emotional wounds, or anything that's left, the mental stuff, any patterning where your mind wants to constantly take over and self-sabotage, any of the places where blockages have built up in your physicality that are attempting to manifest as some sort of dis-ease pattern. Those are the places where we want to go in and really clear on the crystalline, with a crystalline level layer, pure adamantine particles going in, sitting and transmuting every single nanoparticle of miscreated energy, not just in this lifetime, but in every subsequent lifetime we've ever had and every potentiality going forward. You will not find most people that articulate anything like that. I have yet to read many people that would articulate that like that. And so that's the level of awareness I'm, taking us into. Spirit's taking us. I mean, it's funny. I mean, when I say an I, there isn't really a me, because it's spirit just going in and doing it. So it's got 12 attendees on here. One's a computer, so that's 11 people in person. 11 is a master number. You can always play with numbers any way you want, for sure. But that's kind of, where we're at, with this eclipse energy and how it's playing with us, how we're engaging it. And of course, everything is always, a choice point. We either engage it or we don't. But if you're one of these people that are, consciously working with, your life path, and you're trying to attend family, friends, what have you, then you're probably not having huge things individually happen to you, and yet you're still attending them for other people. I mean, I'm certainly doing that, and it's exhausting, I must say. But the choice is either you do attend that or you just don't. And I mean, if you're like me, then it's hard to just walk away from people and say, I don't want to deal with that. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I think on that note, let's go ahead and get ready to go into a meditative state, and we'll try to transmute anything that's left, things we've talked about before, obviously. But so the eclipse, if you think about it, again, I mean, new moon is new beginnings, but because of the south node, a lot of endings energy as well, which is good. But if we're consciously working with that as creation, we can also use that energy to release anything that is holding us back from anything, especially like for myself. I mean, I want to release anything that's keeping me from not moving forward with like this new video presentation that I'm going to do. I mean, the time is finally here. Y'all have heard me talk about this long. It's kind of like Judith in that book. She said, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to write this. And then it didn't happen for years and years and years. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to be, talking about this thing that never gets created. But at the same part of this, there is something absolutely called divine timing. And your soul will not allow something to be created until that time is there. And for me, it really has been an act of surrender. It's constant surrender to source. It's constant surrender to bigger picture dynamics of when is the right time come along, for creating something. And I never imagined I'd be waiting for this eclipse, but here we are, and I really think this is with it, as it were. I mean, it really is such a potent energy to present something out into the world and watch. So, yeah. So for each of you individually, listening to the call live on the 12th of August, or if you listen to it later, think back to this particular date and what you've been creating, or what's, in your subconscious that wants to come out, move forward as a creation, any of those kinds of things. So it's all there. So yeah. So, okay, let's just, if you haven't found your spot, go ahead and find your quiet space. Go in and get still, and then we're going to, and again, I mean, I don't call in everyone all the time, but I mean, I think we've done this so much that they're always here. I don't feel like I have to go in and articulate everything all the time. But calling in for Mother, Father, God, all the ascended masters, the infinite presence, and all the mighty Elohim builders of form, all the elemental kingdoms, Saint Germain and the Violet Flame for transmutation, the Diamond Christ Light, and the 12th Golden Ring. I mean, I don't feel like I have to articulate all those, even though I just did. It's kind of like a reminder that everything's frequency. And the more we do this, the more we sit in, we attune with it. You're always in presence with all of that. We're never in separation from that. So, and I think because we've been doing this, I mean, this has gone on for, almost 2.5 years. So in August, I think I started in March of 2024. So, I mean, think about how much we've been devoting our time and energy into the calls. And everything we shift for ourselves, we shift for everything else out there in humanity. So, I mean, if you look at the butterfly effect, one little flicker here, drop in the ocean here, everything shifts and changes. And that certainly is, I think, the way that Pam Gregory and different people articulate things. The more you sit in the energy, yes, you're creating the reflection. And I think it changes the morphogenetic field. And the more people that do that, the field has to change to meet us where we are. And this may really push us to sit in that pristine awareness and creation, even though, the dark may want to continue to pull us down or have some other creation. We don't have to allow that. we really just don't have to allow that. And so that's kind of the key. So, yeah. Let me see. Someone just texted. Tell her we're going in meditation. So anyway, so feel into whatever it is that you want to process with all of this. You know, feel what's true to you, feel what stays, feel what goes, and just go from there. And if just anything drifts through that doesn't feel like it's meant for you, then definitely throw that on the fire to be released. I mean, every single thing that you no longer need, just, let it go. Like for myself, of course, we can always, articulate first from our own vantage point. I'm having to look at every single thing in physicality and ask myself, does this stay with me or does it go? As I consider leaving this home and moving into another house, and it's just a house. A house is a house. Do I do that? Do I stage that house? Do I sell that house? Do I move back to this one after I redo it? I have no idea. And then part of me thinks there may be a completely different creation away from both my parents' homes. And so as Spirit kind of comes to meet me where I'm at, once I release this video, my whole life could change. That's this kind of eclipse. New beginnings can literally be just a phone call away, one presentation away. So much can happen with this eclipse. But I'm going to have to touch every single thing I own, everything that my mom had, everything my dad had, and say, does this stay with me or does it go? It's like all these the parts where my mom couldn't release things because that was my sister's, or that she said that was Mary's, or that was my mom's, and she had the wound from her mom died when she was 2.5 years old. Clothes from 1952 are in there. My sister's wedding dress from 97. It's like it all has to go, and I have to have the courage and strength to say, this can happen. And how many things do we have in our own lives, that we hold things like that because of the memory, because of what it represents. But at the same time, what is your relationship to your things that hold you back? How much is it about our physicality that creates the disease patterns in our bodies? What is it about the density of all of the stuff we carry that we no longer need with us? And they really do weigh us down. And it should be something so simple, and yet the mind will try to track us and trap us into saying, oh, you really might want that someday. It's kind of like the Great Depression. One of my great aunts, was born in 1936, and so a depression baby. And so you got to keep every single thing on the planet. We might need that. We might need that sometime. And yet then you end up with hoarding that happens because of the trauma that happened from the Great Depression. And a lot of people can't get past it, and it keeps us stuck, and we just don't think about it. But it's a really bizarre relationship we have to our physical possessions, and they can entrap us. They can really entrap us. And so that's just one thing I want to throw out and invite you. And I'm not saying, release every single thing in your life and go become a monk and walk around with no possessions. I think that's one narrative they're going to try to put, ram down our throats here coming up, is going to be that, that type of ideation. And that doesn't have to be true either. You can be affluent and you can have things in physicality. But I think it has to be something where if it's in your life, it has to serve a higher purpose. It has to just be something that feeds joy to your heart, not because you're carrying it because of a burden or because of, oh, this was so-and-so's, because of, some sense of loyalty. We have to release anything that does not allow us to grow into the next part of our journey. And again, that's a personal thing I'm living through, and yet I also know so many people that are making the same kinds of choices now. And part of that South Node release in Leo, which is what we're doing. So okay, that's enough of all that. On that note, so let's get really still and sit in your breath. And there we are. We're at the number 13. Must have had another login on the computer. So for meditation, we're going to the 13. 12 disciples and Jesus. Christic Christ consciousness with 13. It's all perfect. Perfect timing. So, okay. Well, it's deep dive, and let's transmute a lot of false patterning, release habituations, and step into our new beginnings and creations. Okay, everyone. I think we have a really good deep dive into resetting things on the cellular level. Just all the way at our core. So you're welcome to stay in these energies. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.